From June 18th to June 20th, 2021, 3 NBA playoff games were played, resulting in 3 eliminations. While these matchups obviously impacted the league that postseason, the lingering effects of the weekend are still felt today. Some of these effects include the breakup of the Nets' Big Three, the Russell Westbrook-Lakers saga, the future of Wemby, and 2 of the 4 championship teams since. Now, more than half of the NBA has been affected by 3 games. Let's look at each game and see how much has been changed by this weekend. To start us off, let's go back to Friday, June 18th, 2021, when the Los Angeles Clippers eliminated the Utah Jazz in Game 6 of their series. After the second round matchup, the Clippers had their future endorsed, while it became the beginning of the end for the Jazz. After Kawhi suffered an ACL injury in Game 4 of the series, that could have been the last time we saw him in a Clippers jersey. He was an unrestricted free agent in the summer, and the team had a historical collapse the year before. The team they were up against had the best record in the league, the recently crowned DPOY, the 6th man of the year, and an all-star duo. With Terrence Mann's 39-point outburst, LA was able to eliminate the Jazz and keep their playoff hopes alive. The series and the journey to the conference finals regained confidence in the Clippers. If LA were to have lost Game 6 and the subsequent game after, we could have seen Kawhi sign somewhere else. After that, what would the Clippers look like today? Would they have traded for James Harden? Now the 76ers have been changed. Would LA have been involved in the KD or Kyrie sweepstakes? How long would Paul George stay on the roster? Would they have finished 2022 in the manner that they did? If they don't, the pick they gave to the Thunder after the Paul George trade would change, meaning OKC may not have Jalen Williams. Oklahoma City is another franchise that's been altered. On the other side, the loss against the Clippers team without Kawhi is a noteworthy point that led to the eventual rebuild for Utah a little over a year later. After this series, the questions surrounding the legitimacy of the Jazz kicked into high gear since they blew a 2-0 lead and lost to a team that didn't have their best player for the final 2 games. The 2021 playoffs, their regression in 2022, and their first-round exit against the Mavericks resulted in trades moving Donovan Mitchell to Cleveland and Rudy Gobert to Minnesota. These 2 trades built the foundation for the modern roster. Colin Sexton, Walker Kessler, Keontae George, Lauri Markkanen, and multiple first-round picks are in Utah because of the 2 trades. If the Jazz had won the series against LA, the front office might have given the roster more time to work things out, changing the teams interested in a deal and the presented offers. All 3 teams would look vastly different if the rebuild didn't happen or was postponed. If those 2 trades didn't happen, a big change would be that the 3-team deal that brought Mike Conley and Nickeil Alexander-Walker to the Timberwolves moved D'Angelo Russell, Malik Beasley, and Jared Vanderbilt to the Lakers and sent Russell Westbrook, before he was waived, Damian Jones, and JTA to the Jazz wouldn't exist. Without this trade, 2 conference finals teams would miss out on critical pieces, and the Lakers would need to find a different trade to get Russ off the team. Because of this game, 7 different teams would look different. The Clippers, 76ers, Thunder, Jazz, Cavaliers, Timberwolves, and the Lakers. On Saturday, June 19th, 2021, the Milwaukee Bucks beat the Brooklyn Nets in Game 7 of their second round series. In what has been the most memorable series of the decade so far, this game has impacted both teams, as well as the Suns, Mavericks, 76ers, Heat, Celtics, Blazers, Knicks, Rockets, Clippers, and Wizards. Let's say the Nets went to the conference finals. Like with Utah, Brooklyn's front office would have waited longer to blow the team up, changing the return they got for Kyrie, KD, and Harden. Without the Kyrie trade, Dallas's trajectory would change. After the trade, the team's overall defense struggled, causing them to miss the playoffs. If the Mavericks made the playoffs in 2023, Derek Lively would not be on the team. No Derek and no Kyrie means no finals appearance. KD changes things as well. If Durant's not with the Suns, Mikal Bridges isn't a net, so he can't get traded from Brooklyn to the Knicks. No KD in Phoenix means no Bradley Beal. Beal was viewed as the final piece with KD on the roster, but without Durant, I don't think the Suns would have made the expensive decision to bring him in, knowing his contract and the draft capital given up. So, the Wizards, Knicks, and Suns are influenced. Harden staying with the Nets would keep Ben Simmons in Philly for longer. Would the Nets make the trade for Ben with the newfound confidence in their big 3? Since we're talking about Harden trades, the value of the first-round picks Houston got from the move to Brooklyn changes. Don't forget that Tari Eason and Reed Shepherd have been 2 of the first picks from multiple swaps and unprotecteds. The big change from this game is that the eventual champions would have lost in the second round. No championship in Milwaukee changes plenty, especially if injuries hurt the team like they have post-2021. With the reports we've heard here and there, we could have seen a Giannis trade request without the ring. Would the Bucks trade Drew away so soon, knowing the assets that were given up for him? Maybe the hungrier team finds more value in the All-Star, keeping him around for longer. Do I need to remind you that the trade he was a part of was the Damian Lillard trade? A blockbuster move like the Dame trade already has rippling effects just a little over a year later. If Drew's not in Portland, then the Blazers can't move him to Boston. The Celtics would still be really good without him, but his removal hurts the likelihood that they'd be the reigning champions. Since I doubt the Bucks could get Dame without losing Drew, the Blazers may have reluctantly agreed to a deal with the Heat, especially since it felt inevitable that we'd see him play for Miami. What happens to other elements of the trade, like DeAndre Ayton and 6 first-round picks and swaps? Now, 10 new franchises have been added to the list of teams affected. The Sixers-Hawks game that happened on June 20th might be the least interesting as of now, but it could be the most important game in a few years. The 76ers were affected by all 3 games, so let's skim through their side. If Philly won against the Hawks and made the conference finals, the Ben Simmons timeline changes. If that happens, Harden may have never been on the team, and Maxey may not have been allowed to shine in 2022. No Harden means no Clippers trade, and that trade helps move money to sign their free agents this offseason. When it comes to Atlanta, a bunch of draft picks change. Because they looked good on their way to the conference finals, they traded for DeJounte Murray, giving multiple unprotected first-round picks to the Spurs. With Victor Wembanyama on the team, what happens to those picks in the future? 2 years later, the Hawks traded DeJounte to the Pelicans. With multiple firsts and a promising young player in Dyson Daniels, how does this trade age? The craziest part about this weekend is that it's only been a few years since it happened. So far, 20 teams have been changed by these 3 games. What will happen when all the picks influenced get drafted? What happens when an unnoticed player develops into an all-star? We have no idea what's in store for these teams. This weekend could impact literal decades of basketball.